Hi everyone, this is Wynn. Now, I know you hear all about Yellowstone and Grand Teton National Park, but today I'm going to be telling you about a place in the same region that is free to visit and comprises a plethora of beauty and wildlife. So, okay, real quick. On this channel, I like to talk to you about unique places and experiences all around the world. Perhaps places that don't always end up on your top 10 list. And apologies to those who've been watching my videos. I've been MIA for the past few weeks. I've had some travel for work, and then I got the worst cold, which I'm still recovering from. Very relieved to be back on my feet. So, okay, let's dive in. Now, today we're going to be talking about the National Elk Refuge in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. In this video, we'll go over the history of the refuge, the wildlife who live there, what you can do on the grounds, and what exactly the locals do with all of the antlers the elk shed every year. So, how did I find out about this place? Well, the last time I was in Jackson, I was simply driving down the road, saw the sign for the refuge, saw herds of elk in the distance, and then pulled onto Refuge Road and went into the preserve. Had an impromptu winter safari. And I was just simply amazed that this place existed just right outside of town. I mean, look at me. Look how amazed I am. I'm looking super pleased here. So not only do elk live in the refuge, but a score of other species, which I'll get into in just a moment. When I dug a little deeper, I found out that this refuge is an American treasure, a true ecological gem, and a real boon for those who care about conservation. So President Teddy Roosevelt, known conservationist and Western enthusiast, played a very large role in the establishment of the refuge. In 1906, under Roosevelt, Congress passed the Antiquities Act, which allowed Roosevelt and succeeding presidents to proclaim historic landmarks, historic or prehistoric structures, and other places of historic or scientific interest in federal ownership as national monuments. Roosevelt moved quickly across the nation to proclaim a multitude of national parks and monuments. In 1908, Roosevelt visited Wyoming and went on a hunting trip to Jackson Hole. He saw how settlers were overhunting and encroaching on wildlife. This troubled him deeply. The elk at the time were starving as they weren't able to complete their migratory routes. Roosevelt saw the need for conservation mandates in the area. In 1910, President Roosevelt designated the Jackson Hole Elk Herd Reserve, which in 1912, under then President Taft, was established as the National Elk Refuge by various acts of Congress. The refuge is almost 25,000 acres and abuts the Grand Teton National Park. The refuge is comprised of rolling hills, creeks, and a glacial outwash plain, and is surrounded by the Teton and Gros Ventre mountain ranges. The refuge is home not only to elk, but also to buffalo, wolves, red foxes, antelope, coyotes, occasionally bears, lots of bighorn sheep, and all sorts of birds, including the bald eagle and the oh-so-majestic trumpeter swan. You'll most often find elk and buffalo herds in the winter from roughly December to April when they come down from higher altitudes, often in Yellowstone National Park, to the lower altitudes of the refuge for available grasslands and warmer, although in my opinion still very, very cold, temperatures. Every year, an average of 5,000 to 7,000 elk migrate into the refuge. So many elk. And they're so cute. Look at their fluffy little butts. So cute. So, a quick explainer on elk. Elk are the most advanced subspecies of red deer and are found across North America and the high mountains of Central Asia. They are one of the largest species within the deer family and are one of the largest terrestrial mammals in their given regions. They can weigh up to 1,100 pounds and are surprisingly fast. They can run up to 40 miles per hour. They are herbivores. They feed on grass, plants, leaves, and bark. The males have large antlers, which they shed every year. The ancestors of elk first appeared in the fossil record some 25 million years ago, meaning they have been around a lot longer than we have. Elk are highly social and travel in huge herds with as many as several hundred members. In the summer, they move to high elevation to feed on tundra vegetation and then down to low elevation in the winter. They give birth in the spring and mate in the autumn, with the males having sparring sessions to compete for the best lady elk. The male bulls have a loud bugle type sound. It's quite distinct. They're actually the loudest of all deer. I will share a link below so you can hear for yourself. Elk are hunted not only by humans, but the young and weak often fall prey to a slew of natural predators such as wolves, black bears, and coyotes. The National Elk Refuge is managed by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service under the Department of the Interior and is subject to strict conservation regulations. Due to the refuge's proximity to the town of Jackson, management's primary challenge is limiting conflict between humans and wildlife. The job then is to maintain the habitat, control predators, and foster public education programs. Within the refuge, visitors can explore a whole host of hiking trails and wildlife viewing spots. In order to keep numbers in control, the National Elk Refuge offers a limited number of hunting permits each year for elk and bison, which are allotted through a random drawing by the Wyoming Game and Fish Department. Hunters who receive permits need to follow a set of rules about the types of weapons they can use, the hunting dates, and specific hunting locations. Look, on a personal note, no matter how many times people explain this to me, and I have several friends who hunt and have explained this to me, I can never quite wrap my head around the idea that we need to kill individuals of a species to keep the numbers in check. Perhaps we humans just need to give these animals who have been on these lands for thousands of years more space, or allow their natural predators more freedoms. But I'm no expert, and so I digress. Now, something fun I just learned. A popular way to visit the refuge is on a winter sleigh ride. Sleigh rides have actually been a go-to way to see the elk since the 1800s, back in the frontier days. But nowadays, you can book a 45-minute to 1-hour winter sleigh ride online to see the elk all winter long. I'll link in the description where to book. I now only wish that I got the full Santa Claus experience. There's always next year. Lastly, one thing I find just delightful about the elk refuge: every May, right after the elk leave the refuge and migrate once again into the mountains, the town of Jackson opens up the refuge to antler collectors. Elk shed their antlers and leave them behind in the refuge. The antlers are not only collectibles, but can be used to make furniture, art, lots of different things. And if you want to participate, you must apply ahead of time, and there's usually quite a bit of demand. Apparently in the past, there's been quite some issues with orderly conduct, so now the Jackson police have highly regimented the process into a motorcade that begins at the Teton County Fairgrounds at 6 a.m. on May 1st, with folks lining up the previous day. From there, participants will head into the refuge for antler collecting. How great! Okay, that's a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please subscribe, please like, and please comment. Until next time, thank you and goodbye.